They travel to face number 15 Michigan State on Friday. Head coach Gard here will take an opening statement and then questions.
All right, thank you. Obviously, as it saw most of you guys, some of you guys a few hours ago, it seemed like at Penn State, but happy with our performance. The film just looked just like it did live. I thought we did really good things defensively. Withstood a run there in the second half, and we're able to close it out against a good team. And on the road is always extra special to get one there. And now we get ready for a really good Maryland team coming in here tomorrow night. Obviously, Michigan State at the end of the week. Questions?
Jeff?
You mentioned Maryland, but like other teams, when they go on the road, they're not as effective as they are at home. But have you been able to decipher in scouting them what's been some of the differences shooting?
Well, I think you look around the league. You know what happened to Michigan State at Purdue yesterday. Michigan goes to Minnesota. You know, let's give credit to Iowa for Friday night too. They played well. Maryland had a hard time putting the ball in the basket from three specifically, and Iowa was able to get some things going and get the crowd behind them and you know, get a lead that Maryland couldn't overcome. So they're really talented. I've seen Maryland do that to teams. So home, road, and everybody's trying to figure it out, figure out what the magic is. I think that regardless of the venue or what color uniform you have on, you've got to do the little things well. And I think we've done that. You know, we did that Saturday at Penn State, and it'll be very much the same. You know, we'll have to be really good defensively. We'll have to keep them off the glass. Obviously, individually, they're talented. One of the better point guards in the league, and Anthony Cowan. And you know, we'll have to be solid, take care of the ball, and minimize their opportunities that they can get easy baskets on us.
Tim?
I forgot to ask this the other night after the game, but you used Brad a little bit more at the one than you had been. In watching the telecast this morning, it sounded like those guys kind of knew that was coming, so I thought maybe you talked about it the day before. Can you just elaborate on what you were looking for there?
Yeah, I wanted a little more vocal leadership on the floor, and that's both ways, both ends of the floor. And I just felt that Brad, you know, I watch him in practice, I listen to him in practice. He studies the scouting report intently. He's always calling out what's going on. Obviously, he'll be a really good coach someday. I watch him take notes in our film sessions. He fills up a page. And I just wanted more, a stronger presence from that standpoint. And also to give Trice a little time off the ball. And we flipped him a little bit, and I played him with Trevor, Dimitri with Trevor at times at the two. So I wanted to take a little bit of the pressure off him. But also, I thought the way when Trevor played and then how Brad was playing for the most part, specifically just the command of the team and take ownership of that on the floor. That was something I wanted to put in Brad's hands a little bit more, and he obviously did a good job of it, specifically from the vocalization on both ends of the floor.
Jeff?
You mentioned Maryland's talent, and you mentioned Colin. What problems does he present? And also, they've got a bunch of guys, it looks like, that can hurt you inside, outside.
Right. Yeah, I mean, first of all, he's experienced, he's talented, he's a senior. The speed with the ball, he put a lot of pressure on you in transition. He gets to the foul line a lot, so he's drawing fouls and attacking the basket. And then you put guys around him, like Wiggins, I think, is really talented. Jalen Smith has taken another step in his game. ILO, they've been bringing off the bench. So they've been playing a freshman, Dante Scott, at the four. So they have a lot of guys who can score, but when you've got a point guard and a frontline guy as talented as Smith and Cowan, you know, that gives you a good start. But I think the biggest thing with Cowan is the experience and talent. He's constantly putting pressure on you, which good point guards do. Simpson does it at Michigan. Cassius does it at Michigan State. They're constantly probing, constantly putting pressure on you, and looking to. He's really good at setting up teammates, as are those other two guys I mentioned. And that's you know, we've had guys here there that do that at times, and just understand how to run a team and orchestrate what makes their team the best.
Jim?
I asked the other day about essentially having 9 starters, and obviously that's a good thing. Is there any sort of challenge right now for you finding your 5 best night in, night out in crunch time, or how do you base that just on the field by what's happened that night, or is there anything else?
Yeah, it's somewhat what I see on film going into what will be good matchups. What can we exploit? What do we need to handle? Part of it is as I watch how the game unfolds, whether it be statistical and things I can check by numbers or analytics or things we watch it on film at halftime. Or also it's probably the biggest chunk of it is gut feel and just who's playing well, who's struggling a little bit, who's in a rhythm. So I wouldn't say I go in with any preconceived notion, but usually halfway through the first half I have a pretty good idea of who's going to be on the floor for the larger chunks.
Not sure if you touched on it with your answer with Brad, but you rode with Trevor late in that game against Penn State. You know, what were you seeing from him that made you comfortable with him on the floor in those moments over Trice, who had, you know, closed a lot of games for you
Right.
over the last 3 years?
Yeah, other than the one, he got caught in a trap right at half court, and really that was a spacing issue that we had at the start of that possession. I thought Trevor, he brings a toughness and a little bit of a bulldog mentality to us that I wanted, having known the history of how, you know, it's been a while since we've had one slip away at Penn State. I understand the history of it, but knowing that they were going to pressure us and try to get the crowd behind them, I want to make sure we were tough and secure and sound with the ball. And I like, you know, what Trevor was doing with that. And he's hard to take the ball from. He's got an edge to him, and I just liked how he was playing. So knowing we were going to face some pressure and some trapping and those things as we come down the stretch, the guys that I felt had done the best job of handling it that day were who I was going to go to unless I need to make a change.
Anything else for Coach Brian?
Greg, I know you got Maryland first, but after what happened to Michigan State yesterday and the additional time that they'll have before they play you on Friday, I would assume that they'll probably be ready to play you on Friday?
They would be ready probably if they had to play tomorrow. So, I mean, it is what it is. We'll hopefully be ready too. And Tom's got a terrific team. And I don't know if surprised is the right word. I don't think anybody's surprised at Purdue. I mean, Purdue responded. They had lost two in a row, one at Illinois and one at Michigan. And, you know, Matt, obviously good coaches get guys to respond. And I think that's a credit, probably more of a credit to Matt's team and what his staff did with Purdue. And we're all going to go through. Nobody's immune to having an off night. And whether you look at the stats of Purdue, I think was 2 of 16 from 3 with 18 turnovers. It's happened. You hope it doesn't happen to you, but if you're in it long enough, you're going to have one of those games. But I think the credit also needs to be given to Purdue, how they responded, what they had been coming off of.
Coach, what's it like? I mean, already in a very competitive league, you know, top tier teams, but everyone kind of in the same situation. You guys are coming off a loss and you bounce back at Penn State. Maryland's coming off a loss, and Michigan State as well. So what's it like to be in a situation where every game you go into, everyone's looking to bounce back and get back on top?
Yeah, you just take it one game at a time. You really don't get caught up into what happened to you too much. You have to turn the page really quickly if you've had good things happen or not. If you stumbled a little bit, you've got to move on. You learn from it. The guys have come up with the learn it, burn it, and turn it. In terms of learn what you had here, now we got to burn it and then turn the page. And whether it was something really good at Ohio State, something not so good against Illinois, something really good against Penn State, we'll learn from what we did well, what we didn't do so well, and then take that next step to prepare for Maryland and not worry about, I won't look at one single second of film of Michigan State until well after tomorrow night.
So what did you learn about your team at Penn State?
You know, I like the resiliency when they cut it to 41-37 in the second half. I thought the timeout was 2 months ago, we couldn't have handled maybe that or wouldn't have been as resilient. They just said, hey, we've taken their punch, they made a run at us, now it's our turn to come back, and they answered that and they responded. So that's a sign of a team that's maturing, which I've seen over the last few weeks, that we handled turbulence better than what we did back in November, early December.
Yeah.
Greg, you were asked about Trice recently when he was struggling. You said, I learned never to pull the rug out from under a guy to let him work his way through it. I'm sure he wasn't happy sitting on the bench down the stretch the other day, but I'm guessing he understood it. How do you think he'll respond?
He'll respond fine because I watched his body language on the film. Every time something good was happening, he was up hollering, waving his towel, just like Nate Reavers. You know, he was up. Micah Potter was, you know, taking the minutes because Nate was in foul trouble. Micah was playing well. So these guys support each other. I mentioned that last week when we played at Ohio State, how Tyler Wall was playing well and Aline Ford was supporting. they're a connected group that wants their teammates to be successful, which helps their team be successful. And fortunately, we don't have any of that petty jealousy that can sometimes infiltrate teams. They just want to make sure their team is successful. And as Jim mentioned, our bench, I think, has been our strength in terms of we can, any given night, it can be any of the 9 that have gotten the minutes. So I think that's important that they've embraced that. They understand that's a big part of who we are as those other guys. And it's, as long as it's somebody that has Wisconsin on the front of their jersey, that's all we really care.
Anything else for Coach Gard?
All right, thank you.